We are live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. Going to be doing a 12-person PPR mock draft. Guys, I'm in mock draft mode. It is officially mock draft season. I'm getting ready for my season-long high-stakes fantasy drafts, transitioning a little bit out of best ball mode, which I've been in for the last 2 months or so. Anyone can join this mock draft. There's only 7 spots left now, or 6 spots left. 8 spots left. There's 8 spots left in this mock draft. Link to join is in our Discord in the mock draft channel. I'll also send the link here in the YouTube chat. What's going on, everyone? We're going to be starting this mock draft momentarily. This is going to be a 12-person draft. Let's mock it up. Seeing Samps in the YouTube chat. We're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. Going to be showing the draft board on both TikTok and YouTube today. But as always, the better viewing experience is going to be over on YouTube, where I can show the entire screen. We have just 6 spots left in this mock draft, which will be starting once it fills. Sent the link to join in the YouTube chat. It's also in our Discord, which is free to join. You can find that in the YouTube description. We only have 3 spots left. Only 3 spots left to join this mock draft. And then we're going to be starting. I took the first overall pick because I did get the first overall pick in one of my fantasy leagues. That is a 12-team PPR league. So I want to practice for that one. We're live on TikTok and YouTube. The link is in the YouTube Live. Link to the YouTube Live is just right in the TikTok bio. So go to the TikTok bio, tap on YouTube. You can find the link to the draft. Also, if you're in our Discord, you can find the link there, and it's full. So we're going to start the draft now. I got the first pick. I'm on the clock. We all know who I'm going to be taking with this pick, I hope. And that is going to be Justin Jefferson. So I'm leaving this off with Jay Jettas here with the first overall pick. Luke, great to see you in the YouTube Live. We're live on TikTok and YouTube. You can watch this draft happen pick by pick on TikTok or on YouTube. The YouTube Live, I will say, is a little bit better of a viewing experience because you can see the whole draft board. On TikTok, I'm going to have to be sliding left and right here for those of you watching live on TikTok. And the draft starts. Jefferson, McCaffrey goes 2, Chase goes 3. I have seen Chase starting to slide a little bit to 3 versus 4 versus 5 with the Joe Burrow injury news. I'd still take Jamar Chase second overall. I think I'm not as worried about that Joe Burrow calf injury, but I do understand the concern there. I think CMC is a great pick at 2 as well. Kelsey goes at 4. Kupp goes at 5. I'm really loving to see where Cooper Kupp is sliding to. I'm not as worried about his injury as other people either. And we're at the 6th overall pick, which was Tyreek Hill. We got one auto drafter here in this mock draft. Yeah, you can watch this live on TikTok or YouTube, but you can see the whole draft board on the YouTube Live. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio. Is this PPR or half? This is a full PPR draft. Full PPR draft, which is all the leagues I'm in are in full PPR. And this is the first mock draft of the year for me. I'm transitioning out of best ball mode into season-long mode. It really is a different mindset. So I'm going to be doing a lot of these mock drafts, live streaming a lot of these mock drafts in the many weeks to come. Next picks Bijan went 8th overall before Steph Diggs, before Saquon Barkley. I think I'm taking Barkley over Bijan, but I do understand the hype around Bijan Robinson. I do like that CeeDee Lamb pick at 11. I think he should be going in the first round of basically every draft. It feels a little weird to take him over AJ Brown. To join the mock drafts in the future, there's 2 ways to get into these mock drafts. One, the fastest way is to join our Discord, which you can find the link to in the YouTube description. But I'll also usually put the link to these mock drafts in the YouTube comments as well. So that's the way to get ahead of these mock drafts in the future. I'll be doing a ton of these. This is a PPR draft. This is a PPR mock draft we're doing here with a bunch of, seems like smart drafters with how this has started. This has been pretty on pace with what I've seen in the best ball drafts I've been doing all offseason. I really like the back end of the draft. If you're going to get a guy like Nick Chubb and Amon-Ra, we got a wide receiver start there at the 11th spot with CeeDee Lamb and AJ Brown. Saquon, Devontae Adams, with where Adams is sliding to as well. I do like taking him over Garrett Wilson. We saw Garrett Wilson go 1 pick after him. I've seen Garrett Wilson go before Adams in a lot of the drafts that I have been doing. And now we're really seeing a wide receiver run here. Crazy how early some of these wide receivers are going. Is there any way to sync a mock draft using the draft tool? No, unfortunately. And you can see I got the WalterPicks draft tool ready to pull up here as we talk through some of this. This is a free to install app, the WalterPicks app. I've spent most of my last 3 years working on this app, but you can't sync it to mock drafts. It only syncs to real leagues. So you can manually, though, you can turn on the manual mode in the settings here, like I'm going to do on live. If I turn on manual mode, now I can swipe left and right in the draft tool to indicate which players are being taken. But that's the only way to use it during a mock draft, which it can be used that way. But 30-second timer is a little bit tough for that. We saw the first QB off the board. It was Patrick Mahomes. Derrick Henry going in the middle of the second. I got to pull up here the queue. I'm going to be on the clock. I went Justin Jefferson first overall. Jonathan Taylor going. I'm not touching Jonathan Taylor with the 10-foot pole right now in any drafts, but as soon as he does report, I'm going to be back in on Jonathan Taylor. Guys, we're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube right now. You can see the draft board on both, but you can see the entire draft board on YouTube. Link to the YouTube live is right in the TikTok bio. So you're like 2 presses of your finger away from the YouTube live if you're watching live on TikTok, but you'll be able to see the draft board fill out live. This is going to give you a good sense of where guys might be going. I'm pumped to be starting the mocks again too, Daniel. Pumped to see you in the YouTube live. If you are watching live on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, appreciate the follows. How do I join in the future? You can join by hopping in our Discord, which you can find in the description of the YouTube live. All right, I'm back on the clock here. I have Justin Jefferson at 1. What are the QBs available here? Oh, God. This is not a great spot to be in. I am going to go Calvin Ridley. I'm planning on taking Calvin Ridley in the 3rd round in basically all of my drafts this year if he's going to fall there. I don't really love taking Josh Jacobs with this pick. We're going to see how this goes. I kind of want to take one of those QBs, and I kind of don't. Wow, Kamara is starting to really shoot up these draft boards here. I'm going with another receiver in Devontae Smith. So we're starting 3 straight receivers. I don't feel great. I don't feel great about this start so far, to be honest. I kind of wanted one of these 3 running backs, Pollard, JT, or Henry, to slide to me. I don't feel great about Jacobs right now, who hasn't reported to camp, but I would definitely be taking him at this pick if he has reported to camp by the time I'm actually drafting. But we're starting 3 straight receivers here. A 0 RB build, not what I was planning in my first mock draft. This is why we mock draft, though. This is why you got to do mock drafts to prepare for your season-long draft. And this is already, I got to admit, already much different than the best ball drafts that I've been doing. You sniped me, Sam. I'm sorry, Jack, about that. Is this on Sleeper? If so, how do I join one myself? Yeah, Ryan, this is on Sleeper. Sleeper is by far the best place to be doing mock drafts. It honestly isn't really close. You can start your own one really easily just by hitting create a mock draft. And I actually think there is a way to join others publicly. I'm not exactly sure how to do that. What is wrong with Josh Jacobs? The only thing wrong with Josh Jacobs right now is that he didn't get the contract he wanted, and he might not want to play on the franchise tag. So he has not reported to training camp yet. He has not practiced with the team yet. He is not with the team. He is not at the building where his entire team is practicing. So Zamir White right now is RB1 for the Raiders, which is going to be a huge problem for them. Obviously, Josh Jacobs really carried the load last year, which gives me some optimism that they're going to be able to figure it out, but they haven't yet. And if I'm in a draft and I'm on the clock, I kind of want to be drafting guys that I know for sure are going to be playing this season, especially with such a high premium pick like the 3rd round. So right now I'm fading Jonathan Taylor and I'm fading Josh Jacobs. I feel a little bit more confident in Josh Jacobs than I do Jonathan Taylor, but that's really just a hunch, and I'm purely speculating here. Can you do a non-PPR, Jack? Yeah, we can try one of those another time, but almost all my leagues are PPR leagues, so I almost always am operating in a PPR mindset. We see Lamar go in the 3rd round. Look where these QBs went, by the way, in rounds 2. We saw Mahomes go. Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts went in round 3. I considered Allen and Hurts at my pick with the 1st overall pick, but I started 3 straight wide receivers instead. Justin Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, Devontae Smith is how I started this draft. I was not planning to go 3 straight receivers. Do you like Gibbs? Yeah, I do like Gibbs. I like him a lot. I don't love taking him as the 1st pick in the 3rd round, but I think the ceiling is pretty clearly there for Jahmyr Gibbs. Let me pull up the WalterPicks app here to show you how high the ceiling is for Gibbs. If we compare Gibbs to, say, let's look at some of these running backs we can compare him to. I think his ceiling is really, really high. Let's compare Jahmyr Gibbs to, let's say, Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard went in the 2nd round of this draft. Gibbs went in round 3. And Pollard is projected to score more, which I think makes sense. But look, the ceiling's not that far off. Just that the floor is much higher for Tony Pollard. Jahmyr Gibbs, my comp for Jahmyr Gibbs coming out of the draft was Chris Johnson. I think he's a better receiving version of Chris Johnson, which is like really exciting for anyone that got to see CJ2K back in the day. He rushed for 2,000 yards. He was one of the fastest players I've ever seen played in an actual football game. Like just on-field speed was absolutely unmatched. And Jahmyr Gibbs, based on his 40 time alone, is faster than Chris Johnson, which is absolutely insane to wrap your head around. And he's a better receiver than Chris Johnson. I do worry a little bit how much David Montgomery is going to take that goal line role to pay for Jahmyr Gibbs in the third round. It feels just a little bit aggressive. I feel much better about him in the middle of the third, back end of the third round. I think beginning of the third round is just too steep for me to pay, but I do like him. And I think his upside is astronomical. In the WalterPicks app, his ceiling is running back 3, which is extremely high for any rookie running back. Kenneth Walker going in the 4th round. He's dealing with a groin injury right now. But I think if he's healthy, that offense is going to score a ton of points this year. I think they have the most talented receivers in the league. The most talented 3 starting receivers in the league, I think, is the Seattle Seahawks. And I think the offensive line is going to be improved from last year. I'm pretty bullish on that offense overall. I am nervous, though, about the groin injury. We see Hopkins go in the 4th. I'm not very in on a 4th round. DeAndre Hopkins, I kind of like most of the receivers going around him just a little bit more. I can't be looking at receivers here, though. I got to be looking at some other options. I started 3 straight receivers from the 1 spot. Where's your Discord link so I can join a mock? Yeah, I will add the Discord link, I think, to the TikTok bio after this live, but you can find it in the YouTube description. I'm live on YouTube right now, too, where you can actually see the whole draft board. And the link to the YouTube is right in the TikTok bio, so you can get there super quick. And then in the YouTube description, you'll find the link to the Discord. Okay, DJ Moore goes 1 pick before me. And here's the running backs we're looking at here. I'm really shocked to see how high Alvin Kamara actually is up on this list. I'm just used to seeing him going in like the 8th, 9th round in the best ball drafts I've been doing. I'm definitely not going to go tight end with the tight ends there. I am going to take Aaron Jones with one of these. I kind of want to reach for this Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley stack, which I'm actually going to post a video about right after this live. I'm posting a video of my favorite stacks. But I think in a real draft, I would not be reaching for this stack, and I would be going Alvin Kamara. And I want to treat this like a real draft. So I'm going Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara. I know Alvin Kamara is suspended for the first 3 games, but I don't care that much about the beginning of the season. I care about the end of the season when I am going to be winning my fantasy football leagues. And Alvin Kamara is not going to be suspended then. Kamara has been top 3 in the NFL in target share among running backs for 6 straight seasons. 6 consecutive years, Alvin Kamara has ranked top 3 among all running backs in the percentage of his team's targets that are going his way. And I think that's probably going to be a 7th straight year for him in that role. I think worst case for Alvin Kamara, who definitely declined in efficiency last year, worst case for him is he's like top 5, top 6 in target share once he returns. And in a PPR format, I'm willing to eat that 3-game suspension, especially if I started 3 straight wide receivers like I did in this build: Justin Jefferson, Ridley, Devontae Smith, then Aaron Jones, Kamara. Both guys should be very involved in the passing game this year. I see Darren Waller going in the 5th round. Definitely pretty early to see him go there. I haven't seen him go before Kittle very often, but he did in this draft. I think there's a really, really clear teardrop among tight ends. This is something I felt pretty strongly about all offseason as I've been grinding in the best ball drafts that I've done. I think there's a pretty clear teardrop after the first 7 tight ends. There's a couple different tiers within those 7. Kelsey's in his own tier. Mark Andrews and Hawkinson, I think, are in the next tier. We saw Hawkinson go pretty well after Mark Andrews. Definitely like the value for Hawk there. I don't hate Mark Andrews in that spot either. But both guys, I think, have a legit chance to be right up there with Kelsey this season in terms of target share and their usage in their offenses. And then after that, I think the next tier is Kittle, Waller, and Pitts. And right now, Kittle and I think Goddard's in that tier too. So there's 3 guys left in that tier right now. It's George Kittle, Kyle Pitts, Dallas Goedert. And I think being the guy that gets the last of that tier is a pretty strong move across all drafts, across all formats. So that's generally my goal going into these drafts. If I don't get one of those top tier tight ends, I want one of the end of the top tier tight ends, which for me, again, these guys that are still left, Kittle, Pitts, and actually Dallas Goedert just got snagged in this draft just now. So now it's just Kittle and Pitts. And usually I've seen Kittle go before Goddard and before Darren Waller. I'm not seeing that in this mock draft that we're doing here. That might be a little bit just I'm used to the underdog best ball ADPs, and this is the sleeper season-long ADPs that we're looking at here. Is Mixon, Kamara, Bijan a solid RB core? Yeah, I think that's a great running back core, and Bijan's definitely the number 1 running back in that core. I like the value for Mixon a lot right now in drafts. He went all the way at the end of the 3rd round in this draft. I think if you're getting Mixon end of the 3rd round, beginning of the 4th round, I think that's pretty strong. You just look at what's behind Joe Mixon this season, and this is a little bit of a trap sometimes to fall into for fantasy, but especially in the top offenses in the league, it's a good way to think about things. Who's competing with Joe Mixon for touches this year? It's not Samaje Perine. Samaje Perine left the Bengals. He joined the Broncos. I do think he'll have a role there, especially early on in the season with Javonte working back from an injury. Mixon's competing with Chase Brown, Travion Williams, guys that are completely unproven and almost definitely worse than Samaje Perine. I think Mixon could catch more passes this year. He's still a part of a really elite offense. And he didn't have the efficiency you like to see out of running backs, especially an aging back like Mixon. But I definitely think he's worth a third, end of the third, early fourth round price tag. I do like both these running backs here too at value in the 6th round. Cam Akers, Miles Sanders, a little bit more questionable of offenses, but I think their roles really aren't that questionable. Checking in on the top, analyst Jack Brady, love to see you in the YouTube live, man. Hope all is well. And I hope you know I'll be grinding the mock drafts in preparation for all my high stakes leagues, which I know you are in one of. And I'm going to be prepared this year, more so than last year. Last year, I always, after each NFL season, I always try to take a step back and sort of analyze my process from, especially before the season and draft season. And last year, I was too deep into best ball, too deep into August. And my whole mindset was in the best ball drafts, the best ball ADPs that I was grinding. And this year I'm shifting much earlier and I'm going to the season long mock drafts now. And over the next 3-4 weeks, I'll be grinding the mock drafts. I'll still be doing a little bit of the best ball, but definitely a lot less of my mental fortitude will be going towards best ball to make sure I crush my drafts for season long. Would you draft Garrett Wilson or St. Brown first? Yeah, I'm definitely going St. Brown over Garrett Wilson. And I know not everybody's going to agree with me on this one. I think the WalterPicks app will agree. If I just pull up the app here really quickly before I'm on the clock again, we'll compare Amon-Ra. It looks like we actually have them pretty much back-to-back in our wide receiver rankings. Actually, this is by ADP right now. And yeah, we got Amon-Ra just a slightly ahead of Garrett Wilson. Again, you can download this app that I'm showing here, the WalterPicks app, for free in the iOS and Android app store. And almost all the stuff I'm showing on the screen you'll actually get for completely free, or you can start a 7-day free trial to the subscription and get it for free. But yeah, I'm really in on Amon-Ra. Walter agrees with me. The floor is just so high for Amon-Ra St. Brown compared to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's got a new QB situation. Aaron Rodgers brought some of his buddies to the Jets. He's got Alan Lazard, he's got Randall Cobb, he's got Corey Davis there as well. And I'm not as confident about the floor for Garrett Wilson as I am about the floor for Amon-Ra St. Brown. All right, I'm about to be back on the clock. I am back on the clock here. So let's see what we're looking at on the board. I do need some more running backs. The tight end tier has dropped off, so I won't take one of those guys. Oh, God, the QB situation is not great either. I might pass and actually go RB here. I'm going to start with David Montgomery. I like him being able to fill in, especially as I deal with the Alvin Kamara suspension. I almost want to go James Cook. Wow, Tyler Lockett's still here too. This late in the draft, round 7, Tyler Lockett feels relatively strong to me as well. I would go Deshaun over Dak. I'm kind of surprised to see Dak's ADP ahead of Deshaun's here as well. And yeah, I think I'm going to go James Cook. I'm going James Cook. I'm going 4 straight running back. I started 3 straight wide receivers. I'm going to go 4 straight RBs. I'm going to wait on QB. I'm going to wait on tight end. We'll see how that shakes out later in the draft. I don't feel like reaching for a QB after this Trevor Lawrence tier, and Trevor Lawrence went a while ago, end of round 5. I think there's a pretty steep drop off. Maybe Deshaun's in that tier, maybe Tua, maybe A-Rich, but with how many guys have already taken QBs in this draft, I'm willing to wait now. If I'm not going to get someone in this tier, I almost reached for the Trevor Lawrence stack in this draft with Ridley, but if I'm not going to get him in this tier, I'm gonna wait. How much money is the WalterPicks app subscription this year? Yeah, so the subscription prices are the same as last year for almost 90% of the most part. The annual subscriptions, $5 a month or $60 a year for the fantasy subscription, and then it's twice that for the entire app subscription, which includes the DFS and betting product. That's $10 a month. I did not mean to ban that user. I'm sorry. I meant to put you in a timeout for spamming. And then, yeah, it's $10 a month or $120 a year for the entire app tier, which includes all the fantasy tools, all the prop tools, all the DFS tools, really unmatched offering. And it comes with a 7-day free trial as well. First time tuning in this year. This season is about to be fun. Absolutely, Andrew. Great to see you back in the YouTube live. I hope everyone's getting ready for draft season. Would you keep Saquon at 209 in a 10-man keeper league? Yeah, that's fantastic. I drafted Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs. Will my team be good? Your team has maximum upside for sure if you're drafting both Bijan and Gibbs. Bijan definitely has a much higher floor though than Gibbs. I think both ceilings are really high. But Gibbs is not going to see the workload that Bijan's going to see. Good to see you again. Thoughts on drafting Alvin Kamara? Yeah, if you're tuning into this live draft that I'm doing right now on TikTok and YouTube, I went from the one spot here, and I started with Jefferson, Ridley, Devontae Smith. I wasn't planning on going 3 straight wide receivers, but I'm also going to be flexible, depending on how the draft goes. I don't want to reach for the QBs. I consider Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts with that 3rd pick. I consider Josh Jacobs, but I'm nervous about him with the holdout situation. And so I waited on running back, and then I ended up going Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara with my next 2 picks. And yeah, I'm in on Alvin Kamara. If I can get him in the 5th round, I think that's fantastic. I'm willing to eat that 3-game suspension because the beginning of the season is not as important as the end of the season. The end of the season is when you win your fantasy football leagues. So I can scrape together. I just did, in this draft, I got Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, and James Cook to get me through those first 3 weeks at least. I think all 3 of those guys have really high upside on their own. And then when Alvin Kamara comes back, Alvin Kamara has been top 3 in target share among running backs for 6 straight years. This will be his 7th straight year being top 3 in target share if he does it again this year. And I think like worst case scenario, he's like closer to the top 5, top 6 in a PPR league. I'm taking that all day long in the fifth round. So yeah, I like Alvin Kamara a decent amount at his cost. We'll see how high that cost gets. 3rd round, 4th round, I think gets a little bit pricier with the suspension, especially with some of these other running backs going a little bit later. But yeah, I do like where I'm able to get him here. And I have a feeling, and I haven't confirmed this yet. So I was actually pretty surprised to see how high his ADP has gotten on the sleeper ADP charts, because the ADP really does drive price a lot of the time on these platforms. I have a feeling it's going to be much lower on ESPN and Yahoo, or I'm hopeful that it'll be much lower and it'll be easier to get there. I just took Addison. Can you speak on his projected target share in Minnesota? Yeah, Addison's definitely a really interesting guy to be drafting right now. He was one of my top 3. I think he was number 2 behind JSN for me in my pre-draft rookie wide receiver rankings. And I think he sat right at number 2 after the draft as well. I think from a fantasy perspective, he definitely has a shot to lead all rookie receivers in points, fantasy points, and receiving yards, just with all the competition that JSN has. I still think JSN's overall more talented wide receiver, but Addison has the talent, guys. I think Addison's ceiling is like almost as good as like a Devontae Smith. I think his route running really could be that good. I wouldn't be shocked though if he doesn't see like a huge target share out of the gates. I think KJ Osborne definitely could mix in still. And obviously Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson are going to lead this team in targets. So like best case scenario for Addison is he's 3rd on the team in target share, but I still think he could get to a 20 to 22% target share. I think right now we're projecting him around 19% target share in the WalterPicks app, which has him a little bit low in the rankings. Let me pull up actually the WalterPicks app with Addison. I wonder what the ceiling is for Jordan Addison. We'll compare these 2 guys. Again, this is the WalterPicks app, free to install on the iOS and Android app store. You can do as many comparisons as you want for free this year. And it's going to give you almost all the information that the premium subscribers get, but you won't get ceiling and floor unless you start your 7-day free trial. So let's compare Addison, and then let me pull up Jackson Smith and Jigba here, the other rookie wide receiver. And yeah, Walter's a little bit higher on JSN, actually gives a better floor, which kind of makes sense to me. To Addison, the ceiling, wow, is just so high for JSN, but still a pretty good ceiling here for Jordan Addison. So yeah, I'm in on Addison, especially if you can get him really late. I have been seeing him go pretty late. There hasn't been that much buzz about him from camp, which is probably good to keep his price down for fantasy drafts. But he's definitely a wild card. He's not a lock by any means. Michael Thomas going here in the 8th round. I think that's going to be an absolute smash value if he's going to be going round 8, round 9. He doesn't need to be. You don't need to draft Michael Thomas as a starting wide receiver. And guys, people are drafting Michael Thomas like he's already injured, and this is the healthiest Michael Thomas has been at this time of the year in the last 3 years. And he's getting drafted like he's already hurt. So really, really interesting stuff there with Michael Thomas, but I do like him at cost. And yeah, look at this, guys. I'm glad I did not take a QB with my last pick, because we still have basically all the QBs I was considering last time. I was thinking about Deshaun. Deshaun ended up going at the end of the 7th round. I started 3 straight receivers and then 4 straight running backs in this draft. And now I'll be going QB tight end. And I kind of, honestly, I like both these QBs, maybe even together. Don't feel super strongly about those tight ends. And yeah, I honestly think I'm going to go 1-2 just like this, and just lock in 2 guys with absolutely massive. You can't see it on the YouTube live. I'm sorry. Let me move this comment away. I just went Tua and A-Rich here back to back, and I waited on QB, which makes me more comfortable to take 2 of them. Usually I only like to take 1 quarterback, but I do like both these guys upside and floor really on a week-to-week basis. Guys, Tua was on pace. Let me pull up the Tua game logs here really quickly, just to remind us all of what Tua was doing before his injuries last year. And again, he's another guy. It feels like people are just drafting him like he's already injured. when he's not. He's fully healthy right now. Tua is right behind Deshaun in our rankings in the WalterPicks app. Let me pull this up on the TikTok live too. And he had a 40-point week in week 2. He finishes the number 2 QB that week. And then he had a stretch here before the injury. Number 1 quarterback, number 4 quarterback, number 3 quarterback, going over 23 fantasy points each of those games. Pretty good matchups in those games. He got to play the Lions, which was just a smash matchup. Probably will be again this year. He had a couple. I mean, he didn't play this game week 4. This is when the injury first happened. A bad game against the Bills in week 3. But a pretty high floor for most of these games. He was over 15 points. He had 470 yards in this game against the Bills and 6 touchdowns. Wow. I mean, just insane upside. And it makes sense. He's got Tyreek. He's got Waddle. I do like him pretty late in drafts. All right, let me pull back up this draft board here. Geno, I like Geno late too with the receivers that he has. I like this pick of Gabe Davis as well. I'm taking Gabe Davis over both these guys that went here. Kadarius Toney and Juju. Give me Gabe Davis over both of them. 100%. I think the ceiling is much higher for Gabe on a weekly basis. Sam's is saying my team is hot garbage. You're drafting from the 2 spot. You got McCaffrey, Andrews, Jacobs, DJ Moore, Herbert, JSN, Pittman. Yeah, I don't feel great about these receivers that you got. I honestly don't. I don't hate Penny and Herbert, but I don't picture myself drafting a ton of them because I think both these guys, Penny and Herbert, all the Eagles running backs and all the Bears running backs, I'm really worried about how easy it's going to be to project these guys on a week-to-week basis. And this is pretty important for season-long guys. Like Rashad Penny might have some massive weeks, but did you trust him and put him in your starting lineup in those weeks? Maybe not, because he had 3 points the week before that. So I think Herbert could be a similar situation. And I don't think injuries, like even with injuries, I don't think there's a clear path to Penny becoming this workhorse running back. I think he's going to need multiple injuries. Same thing with Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert needs both of the other running backs in that offense to get hurt to really get that workhorse role. I think it's going to be a committee on both those teams, which I don't love from a fantasy perspective. I would much rather be dealing with a guy like even Samaje Perine. Samaje Perine's 1 injury away, but Javonte gets hurt and Perine's probably going to become a workhorse in that Broncos backfield. I don't feel the same way about Penny or Khalil Herbert. I do like Penny's upside on a week-to-week basis, but definitely worried about the consistency and reliability for Rashad Penny. Appreciate everyone that's tuned in right now, guys. I will get to some of the comments here in a second. Where is Henry going? Henry went middle of the 2nd round here in this PPR 12-person mock draft that I'm doing live on TikTok and YouTube right now. If you are watching live on YouTube, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the like button and the follow button. I really do appreciate it. I'll be doing these live streams all draft season, and I'll be live every Sunday morning, every single week this year. Yet again, I'm pumped to be doing this. This is my favorite time of year. This is my favorite thing to be doing. So I appreciate you all tuning in and really letting me do this. Sam, when drafting within the first 5 picks, who are the only players you would take over Kelsey? Would you take him over guys like Jay Jettas, Jamar, CMC, Cup, or Hill? I would consider him over Hill. I think I put him over Hill in how I think the first round should go, but I don't feel super strongly about Kelsey over Hill. I'm not taking Kelsey over Justin Jefferson. I'm not taking him over Christian McCaffrey. I'm not taking him over Jamar Chase. I'm not taking him over Cooper Kupp. Those are the guys absolutely not. I'm not taking Kelsey over. I think you can take him over Hill. I don't think that's that crazy. I think you can take him over Eckler and Bijan and Diggs and Saquon and all these other guys. I think that's reasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable to take those guys over Kelsey either, though. It's definitely super close. And it depends on your league size as well. I feel like the bigger league size, the more valuable Travis Kelsey becomes. And we do still need a tight end. And yeah, we're going to go Greg Dulcich here with a lot of ease. If I'm going to get Greg Dulcich this late in drafts, I'm not going to take a tight end, I don't think, early a single time in a single draft. And we probably want to go, I guess I'll go receiver. I do like Jacoby at this price. So I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers. And so I only got 1 pick left here. I got Dulcich in the 10th round. I think I was the last team. Yeah, I was the last team. I was the last team in this 12-person mock draft to take a tight end. And I like Dulcich more than Schultz. I like Dulcich more than Kincaid for sure. I feel pretty good about Dulcich and what he did as a rookie going into year 2. Guys, there's no harder position in the NFL as a rookie than the tight end position. And Dulcich came in and really produced once given the opportunity. And I'm pretty excited to see where that leads him. Let's pull up the game logs for Dulcich last season. Didn't play really the first 5 weeks of the year as a rookie. And then he comes in, has 3 straight games over 10 points in his first 3 NFL games. and then has multiple top 10 finishes down the stretch as well. And really, what was an abysmal Broncos offense. We know Sean Payton loves to use the tight end, and there's almost definitely going to be some improvements to this Broncos offense with Sean Payton in town over Nathaniel Hackett. Definitely the biggest coaching upgrade. I talk about the Adam Gase effect every year, and it's a real thing. Adam Gase is who started it, but when the worst coach leaves your team and you replace him with an above average coach, or in this case for the Broncos, an elite coach, all of the players on that team are going to feel the impact of that. And it's almost always underrated from a fantasy football perspective. I do like where I got Dolch in this draft. Again, my general tight end strategy, underrated stuff, stroking him. My general tight end strategy is I think there's a pretty clear teardrop from the top 7 tight ends. I think Kelsey's in his own tier. Andrews and Hawk, I think, are in a tier right below. I like the value for both, but man, look where Hawkinson went in comparison to Andrews in this mock draft. I think you got to take the value there with Hawkinson over the Andrews pick. And then I think there's another tier right after that with Waller, with Pitts, with Goddard, and with Kittle. And usually Kittle is actually the first to go. Kittle actually, I think, went last among all these tight ends in this draft. It was Waller went, then Goddard went, then Pitts. Where'd Kittle go? Oh, no, Kittle actually went before Pitts. He went all the way at the end here. That's why I missed him. And if I don't get one of those guys, though, I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to reach for Evan Ingram. I don't hate Evan Ingram. I just don't think there's going to be enough week-to-week consistency to justify that high of a pick for him in fantasy. Same thing with Muth. I don't hate Muth, but I just don't think there's going to be that much more consistency from Muth than there is a guy from Greg Dolch. And so I'd rather just get Dolch even later. Same thing with Njoku. Like, I like Njoku more than Dolch, but I'm not willing to pay that significantly of a price premium for Njoku when I can get someone that's almost like him in Greg Dulcich. It could even be better than him potentially with the upside of Dolch. So that's my general tight end strategy. I want one of those top 7, get one of those top tier guys. But if I'm not going to overspend for them, and if I don't, because I can just wait. Do you think Elijah Mitchell will steal touches from CMC? Yeah, for sure. We saw it last year that they don't want CMC to get this insane Carolina Panthers-esque workload that he had last year. Let me pull up the Mitchell game logs here for us all to look at. But definitely he will mix in. But it doesn't concern me at all for CMC. And yeah, he's really struggled with injuries. The games that he did play, he was getting 20 to 35% of the snap share, it looks like, in the games that he was actually playing. He's actually already dealing with an injury in camp, so we'll see how that trends. He definitely has not had a good history of injuries. So look, all these missed games from past year's game logs. These game logs, by the way, these are right from the WalterPicks app in the iOS and Android app store for free. You can find that in the TikTok bio and in the YouTube description. We're actually live on TikTok and YouTube right now. We're going to start another mock draft right after this because I'm feeling like I want to do one more after this one and see if it shakes out similarly or different. I went Alvin Kamara. I took Alvin Kamara in this draft. I had the first pick in this draft. I went Jay Jettas, Calvin Ridley, Devontae Smith, Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, David Montgomery, James Cook, Tua and Anthony Richardson, Greg Dolch, Jacoby Myers, and then I'm about to have my last pick coming up soon. To join these mock drafts, guys, you just got to hop into the YouTube live where I'll send the link to the mock draft, or you can join our Discord, which is in the YouTube description of the live stream, and you can join the YouTube live really easily if you're on TikTok. 2 presses of your finger away. It's right in the TikTok bio to hop over to the YouTube live. So that's where you can actually join these mock drafts, which we're going to start another one very, very soon. The app that this app that you're seeing on my screen, this is Sleeper. This is the best place to do mock drafts for fantasy football. It's the best place to host fantasy leagues, undoubtedly. The app that you're seeing me pull up here with some of the game logs, this is the WalterPicks app. This is a free app to download on the iOS and Android app store. I have myself personally built this app over the last 3 years. Almost all of it is free. Also, there's some premium stuff that comes with the 7-day free trial. Let me know if you have any feedback after you test that out. Okay, I'm on the clock with my last pick. I probably will go. I do like Rondale, honestly. I think I would go Rondale here. I don't think Rondale should be going undrafted in 12-team leagues. And so here's my team. I actually maybe shouldn't have gone Rondale just because I'm never going to start him over these other 3 receivers. But here's the mock draft. Here's how it went. Elijah Moore is rostered in 35% of ESPN leagues and 11% in Bateman. Yeah, that is crazy. 100% that's crazy in the YouTube live. Okay. Is it not just Sleeper? This is Sleeper. This is the Sleeper app. The app I pulled up before that I was using for the game logs, that's the WalterPicks app. That's the best app you want to use for your draft research, but Sleeper is the best place to actually host the leagues and do mock drafts. Do you like Jackson, OBJ, and Zay Flowers stack? Yeah, Evan, I'm about to post a TikTok video right after this live stream, and it's going to be about Lamar Jackson and Zay Jones. Sorry, I keep saying Zay Jones. Zay Flowers being one of my favorite 3 stacks this season. I really like the Lamar Zay stack. I really like the Trevor Lawrence Ridley stack. And I really like the Justin Herbert Mike Williams stack. All right, we're going to start another mock draft here right now. Let's see. Delete this draft. Okay. Mock draft. Let's get a new one going. We're going to do a 14-team one this time to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to take the 5 pick in this one. I actually think I do have a 5 slot in a 14-team league. And I'm about to send this link. I'm going to send it in Discord first, and then I'm going to send it in the YouTube chat second. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, I'm also live on YouTube. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio. That's where you're going to find the link. And also we're going to find the link to join our Discord where you can get early access to join these mock drafts. All right, so let me send this mock draft in Discord. I just sent it. I waited just a couple seconds, and now I'm going to send the mock draft link in the YouTube chat. Anyone can join the YouTube live. This mock draft is free to join. I just sent the link, and look, the Discord people, they're already getting in, and now the YouTube live comments, that link was just sent. So we're going to see these last spots fill, and then we're going to get going on another mock draft. This is really nice to do and to prepare for drafts because we're getting legit drafters in these live streams. Like if you're watching a live stream, I know it's August now, but it's early August. You're going to be good in your fantasy leagues. Like you came to the right place. And so we're getting legit drafters. All right, we're going to start this draft. It already filled. And we're on the clock with the first pick here. And Justin Jefferson goes first overall again. I would get used to seeing that. If you don't have the first pick, guys, I'm sorry. You're probably not getting Justin Jefferson this year. That is just how it's going. Brad, Sam, how do I get in a mock draft with you? I just ran through it. It's through the Discord link or through the link that I send in the YouTube comments. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. And the YouTube live experience, it's just a little bit nicer because you can see the entire draft board. Whereas on TikTok, I have to kind of move the camera because you just can't quite see the whole draft board. Plus, you can see me on screen on YouTube. Shout out to everyone on YouTube as well as on TikTok. Appreciate everyone in this live. Is taking Kupp risky? It's risky, but I don't think for the reasons people think. And I actually might take him here. I am going to take him here actually with this pick. I'm going to take him ahead of Kelsey at the 5 spot. This is a PPR league. I really think if there was no injury concerns for Cooper Kupp, he'd be going first or second overall. He averaged more fantasy points per game than Justin Jefferson last season. And I don't think people quite remember that. Before Cooper Kupp was injured, let me compare these two guys because it really does just bring you back to what is Cooper Kupp. He is the best receiver in the NFL when he is healthy. And he's playing on a team that just peppers him. And I mean peppers him with targets. So here's the comparison. We do have Justin Jefferson projected ahead of Cooper Kupp, and I am taking JJ's ahead of Cooper Kupp this year. But you look at some of the stats from last year, and wow, Cooper Kupp averaged more points per game than Justin Jefferson. Wasn't that far behind in yards. He averaged more touchdowns. He played more snaps. He obviously played less games. He had more catches per game. He had more touchdowns per game, more targets per game. And the target share, look at the target share for Cooper Kupp, a 31% target share. There just is not many wide receivers in the NFL that can get above a 30% target share. There's not a chalkboard. You can, though, join our Discord in the YouTube description. Again, link to the YouTube right in the TikTok bio. You can join our Discord and I'll let you know whenever these mock drafts are happening. You'll have an early shout to get in them. But yeah, Cooper Kupp really not that far off from JJ does. And really, there's some metrics here that are actually better than Justin Jefferson. So I like getting him at the 5 slot a lot. I really like the 5th, 6th pick. And yeah, I get being concerned. I know he's injured right now, and he's coming back from that injury that he suffered in training camp. But I'm not overly concerned about the injury. It sounds like it's more day-to-day than week-to-week, and he will almost definitely be ready for week 1. There's definitely some systemic risk, though, with Cooper Kupp just being a part of the Rams. We saw the Rams implode last year once Matt Stafford went down and once Cooper Kupp went down. And that's definitely another risk this year. If Stafford gets injured, the team can implode. The offensive line, if they get some injuries, the team can implode. If Cooper Kupp gets injured, the team can implode. But I'm also drafting mostly for upside in fantasy football. So if I can get the number 1 overall wide receiver at pick 5, especially in PPR formats where Cooper Kupp led all wide receivers in targets and receptions per game last year, I'm in. On Cooper Kupp, I'm not drafting scared. When is 32-team draft? Yeah, the 32-team draft, I think it's August. It's the Monday. It's like August 28th. I think it's August 28th is the 32-team draft. It's at like 7 p.m. I'll probably publish an event for it on YouTube soon, Derek, but it's coming soon. And the draft order for the 32 Creator League is coming out soon as well. Josh Allen goes in the second round. We're seeing the quarterbacks go a little bit earlier in this mock draft. This is a 14-team PPR mock draft we're doing here. And man, the talent really just starts flying off the board. Derrick Henry went much earlier in this draft too than the last mock draft we were doing. And there goes Josh Allen. No Jalen Hurts yet. I am on the clock here. I do need a running back. Let's see what running backs are there. And wow, JT is just sitting there. He's just sitting there for me, but I'm not drafting him. I can't take him in these early drafts. I'm actually going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts here. I don't love taking a quarterback in the second round, but I do like getting the third QB of these 3 QBs in drafts because I feel like these guys are in a tier of their own. And so if I can get the cheapest one of them, I feel like I snagged a little bit of value there. So we got Mahomes, went first in this draft, then Josh Allen, and I just took Jalen Hurts a few picks later. So I started with Kupp and Jalen Hurts again in this draft. I did not go with a running back in my first 2 picks. And part of the reason is I'm not drafting Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs until their situations work themselves out. How do I find the Discord? Yeah, so the Discord should be right in the description of the YouTube live. It should be right there in the description of the YouTube live. Let me know if you're not finding it. If you are watching live on YouTube, guys, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on these live streams and all the content we're posting there throughout the season. And if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, smash the follow button. Lamar will be RB1 this season. Yeah, Lamar definitely should have a bounce back year. It sounds like the Ravens are going to throw a lot more this year. It'll be interesting to see how that actually impacts Lamar's rushing. Wow, we got a McCaffrey Gibbs start. Man, I'm not going to be able to get Jahmyr Gibbs in any of these drafts, am I? If he's going to be going in the late second, early third round, I don't think I can pay that price tag for such an unknown commodity. I'm all in on the ceiling for Jahmyr Gibbs, but I feel like people are underrating his floor maybe just a little bit. David Montgomery is going to be very involved in this offense. Man, Calvin Ridley gets sniped. I 100% would have taken Ridley if he was there at my pick. I'm pretty much locked into taking Ridley in the third round this year. If he's going to continue to go in the third round, he's going to be on my team. If I'm up in the third round and Ridley's on the board, he's going to be on my team almost automatically. I'm pretty in on Calvin Ridley's return. I think that people don't quite remember peak Calvin Ridley, who was a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy football. And I think people are underrating to the upgrade from Matt Ryan to Trevor Lawrence for Calvin Ridley. I think Ridley is top 5 upside. There's definitely some risk. He obviously hasn't played in a couple of years, but I'm in. And I would have taken Brees with this pick too. That's a really frustrating snipe here for me, who I really need a running back here with this pick. And I'm just not going to be able to get one. Oh, man, Mark Andrews already got taken. I don't feel great. I don't feel great about this spot really at all. I don't want Najee. I don't hate Etienne, but I don't really want him either. I feel like I'm kind of getting forced into Metcalf. And I'm going to go Metcalf. I want to compare Metcalf and Debo here in the WalterPicks app because I'm not sure if that was the right call or not. My heart is telling me Debo Samuel, but my brain is telling me to go with DK Metcalf, who has the earlier ADP. And I bet is going to be ahead in these rankings too. It actually looks like he's one spot behind Debo in these projections. And yeah, I think I should have trusted my heart here. Really close, obviously. Interesting that the ceiling for Debo is higher than Metcalf. Metcalf is just a weird one for me because of all the talent now in the receiving core for the Seahawks. They have Tyler Lockett. Lockett has been almost or just as good as DK Metcalf for the past 2-3 years. Tyler Lockett is just a lock to return value in fantasy every year with where he goes. And then they draft the number 1 most talented rookie wide receiver in JSN, who I think is an absolute stud. I think he's going to dominate in the NFL. I don't think he's going to, immediately steal all the targets from Metcalf and Lockett, though. And Debo, though, you're really banking on a return to form for Debo Samuel in comparison to last year versus the year before. Look at some of these game logs. Debo, there's a lot of red here. He missed a bunch of games last year, dealt with some injuries. You look at the year before, and man, look at this 2021 season from Debo Samuel, one of the most efficient wide receiver seasons we've ever seen. And reports out of camp are that he's closer to the 2021 form than the 2022. I don't hate taking him over Metcalf. I probably would do that if I had to redo that pick again. I'm not feeling good about how my draft is starting here, honestly. This is why we mock draft, though. I started with Kupp, Hurts, and Metcalf, and I'm really going to have to scrape together some running backs again, just like last draft. So we'll see how that goes. Who do I draft at 102 full PPR? Yeah, so Jefferson's going to be off the board, usually in a full PPR league. You can see in this draft, McCaffrey went 2 and Chase went 3. Usually, I've seen Chase go 2 and McCaffrey go 3, but with the Joe Burrow injury, it seems like that's starting to shift just a little bit. But yeah, it's CMC or Chase for me. I would personally go Chase over CMC this season. I'm not as worried about the Joe Burrow injury as some people. I think he's going to be back by week 1 or very soon after that. But it's close. It's definitely a close one. I think those are the 2 you should be deciding between: Keenan versus Ridley versus D-Hop. I'd rank those guys as Ridley, then Keenan, then D-Hop. I think that's how I would rank them Ridley for sure, though, is number one in my eyes. How do you like the 101 start? Yeah, I don't hate it. Compared to mine, you went RB right after Justin Jefferson. I think I went 3 straight wide receivers and then running backs after. I don't want to draft Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor right now. Really makes these mock drafts unique. I hope that their situations are more cleared up by the time my fantasy football drafts actually start in just a couple of weeks. I put the link to the sleeper drafts in the mock draft channel over on Discord. Again, the link to the Discord is in the YouTube description. What about unsigned RBs and how they impact values of guys like Stevenson? Yeah, so the Pats are almost definitely going to sign someone at some point, whether it be right before the season, in the next week, or at some point during the season. I don't think it's going to impact Mondre that much. And I really hope that they sign someone and it drives Mondre's price down, because I don't think it's going to impact it all that much. Because they're not going to play Mondre more than 60% of the snaps. They want him at like 50% of the snaps, but he's going to get the really high value touches no matter who they sign. He's going to lead the team in targets at the running back position. That historically has been the running back you want from the Patriots in fantasy football. Everyone says, be careful drafting Belichick running backs. You never can guess which guy's going to lead the team. But really, what you actually should have done historically is just draft the guy that's going to catch the most passes, because they have so much value in PPR leagues because they target the running backs among the most of all teams in the NFL. Mondre is going to be that guy this year. He's going to go over 50 receptions. He's worth a high pick in PPR formats for that reason. And I think he's going to get goal line work too. So I'm not too worried. I'd be most concerned, though, from a fantasy perspective. I think Zeke and Fournette are the most concerning running backs they could sign, because both those guys can be used in the passing game. But again, not overly concerned about how they'll impact Zeke. I would be most worried about the Alexander Mattison with the Minnesota Vikings. If they sign someone who it seems like their team that logically they have basically nothing behind Alexander Mattison. I also think the Bengals are a sneaky team to sign a veteran. They have basically nothing behind Joe Mixon. I think Fournette, Zeke, Kareem Hunt, they're all still out there. Obviously, Dalvin Cook is out there too. I'm not too worried about Brees. If the Jets sign someone, I still think Brees is going to be a league-winning Saquon Barkley 2.0 type running back. He went in the third round in this draft. I really like him in the third. I was going to take him one pick after he went for sure. And we're back on the clock here. And man, we're looking at much worse running backs than I was looking at this late in the draft before. I kind of do like Miles Sanders, a little bit more than Dameon Pierce in PPR formats. So we're going to go see the tight ends here. Yeah, we're going to go Miles Sanders here with my first running back pick. Don't love it. I don't love the situation I'm in here. I'm going to be reaching for dead zone running backs. I do like the case, though, for Miles Sanders to return value in fantasy this year. He's reuniting with his running backs coach. He got really the biggest running back contract of the offseason this year and joined the Carolina Panthers. And when he was with this running backs coach, his rookie year is the only year we saw him get to 50-plus receptions. And I think he could get back there this year as the workhorse running back for the Panthers, who I also think could be a little bit better than people expect. And I also like that division for fantasy football running backs, because it's going to be a weak division across the board. We got the Panthers, the Saints, the Falcons, and I'm missing one team there. The Panthers, the Saints, the Falcons. Someone tell me in the chat. I'm just drawing a blank here. But I do like that division from that perspective too. This isn't looking great with running backs. No, it definitely is not. DK at 3.5 feels way too much of a reach with his ADP overall. It's just too high. Yeah, I 100% agree. I regretted that pick pretty instantly. I honestly wish I went with one of these running backs, whether it be Mixon, ETN. I don't think I would take Kamara that early. I probably should have gone Mixon or ETN with my pick, or I also kind of like Deebo Samuel more than DK Metcalf at their prices. I reached for Metcalf. I really panicked on the clock here. This is why we do mock drafts, though. I don't think I would take Metcalf in the third round. I like Metcalf. I worry about if his week-to-week consistency will be as high as it usually is with JSN in the mix, because I really do think JSN is going to be an elite wide receiver in the NFL, and there's just so many elite wide receivers on that team. I think it's the best trio of wide receivers in the NFL heading into the season, and I honestly don't think it's that close. That's how highly I think of JSN and Lockett, who's been underrated for quite some time. How do you feel about Christian Watson? Yeah, I feel like Watson is one of these guys that could really kill me in fantasy this year, because I don't picture myself getting a ton of him. And I'll talk a little bit about why in just a second. I'm going to go Cam Akers here with this next pick. I want running backs that catch passes, and Cam Akers definitely checks that box. Swift checks that box too, but I'm pretty out on all Eagles running backs from a season-long fantasy perspective. I've been taking them in best ball a decent amount, and really I think they're better for best ball. I think all of them can have big weeks, but I think all of them will be involved, all the Eagles running backs, and I think it's going to be difficult to predict on a week-to-week basis which of these running backs should be in your starting lineup. Is it DeAndre Swift, who's probably the best receiving back of the group and has the highest upside, but is not going to see 10-plus carries and 5-plus targets in that many games. I think his receiving role will be good though. And I think he will have some monster weeks in best ball where he scores multiple touchdowns and has a big receiving day. Is it going to be Rashad Penny, who probably has the most upside on the ground? I see him getting probably 10 plus carries like up there in most games, but I think Kenneth Gainwell is also going to be involved in this offense. And they're known for obviously using Jalen Hurts in the red zone as well. So I'm pretty nervous on a week-to-week basis being able to predict these Eagles running backs. And that worries me from a season-long perspective. Whereas Cam Akers, if Cam Akers hits, Cam Akers is going to be locked into my starting lineup every single week. I'm not going to have to think about it. He's going to be getting 20 plus touches per game, probably a part of, a not so great offense, but at least he'll be involved in the receiving game and can make it up with some receptions. Who has the best team so far? Yeah, let's look through some of these teams so far. I did like that Breece Hall pick. I mean, Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, and Breece Hall on the same team in a PPR league, it doesn't feel fair to me. Like, I think this team has the most upside here. They started RB, and they're going to make it up. There's some mid-round wide receivers that they're going to be able to get, and they already got two, I think, solid PPR wide receivers. I'm a little bit out on Hopkins at his price. I like the guys going around him a little bit more. I like Scary Terry more than him. I think I like Judy more than him as well. I will get to Christian Watson in just a second. I know someone asked about that already. I like that team a lot. I do like this team before the DeAndre Swift pick. Again, I'm pretty out on him from a season-long fantasy perspective. I just don't know if there's going to be that week-to-week consistency that you're going to be looking for. I do like the McCaffrey team. I think that's a strong team with Gibbs in the 2 slot there too. But we got to see how the rest of the draft shakes out. So far, those are probably the teams that are standing out to me the most, at least the most interesting teams, Evan, to me so far. And we're past this elite tier of quarterbacks now. So I'm going to be waiting. Actually, I already took a quarterback. I went Jalen Hurts, but I think this is the end of that tier. And once Trevor Lawrence goes, usually is that. Yeah, now we're looking at the Dak, Deshaun, Tua, Anthony Richardson tier, and you got to be waiting. At this point, if you haven't taken a quarterback, you got to wait a while. And the quarterbacks are going really early this year. I mean, this is the earliest quarterbacks are going in fantasy in like over a decade and a half. Like the last time QBs were going this early, it was like Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, those types of guys going in like the first 3 rounds. And now we got Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts all in the second round. We had Lamar go in the third, and then another 3 quarterbacks go in the 4th round. Fields, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and then Trevor Lawrence here too. 5 quarterbacks went in the 3rd round. So be ready to pay up for quarterbacks this year. And I think this is the end of the tier right here at Trevor Lawrence. I think Lawrence has that top 5 QB upside you want if you're going to take a quarterback in the first 4 rounds. But after, now we're in the Deshaun, Tua, Anthony Richardson, maybe Geno. I like Geno's upside late, but you're not going to have to pay a lot for him. Now we're in that tier, and at this point, you got to wait. You got to wait for a while at quarterbacks if you haven't had one here by round 5 or 6. This is also a 14-team league, keep in mind. So it might be a little bit skewed from the 12-team perspective. Like 14 teams, it really does make it a lot tougher. And the guys go, basically half a round, full round, a round and a half earlier than you're used to in the 12-team format. 14-team is tough. Okay, about to be back on the clock here. Who's the worst team? I honestly might be up there here with the worst team. I like the running backs that I was able to scrape together, but I'm definitely still a little nervous here about the running back situation. It almost makes me think in my actual draft where I have the 5 pick in a PPR league, in a high stakes league, like it almost makes me want to go running back with that first pick as I see the running back situations here late in drafts. But I also just want to know the situation with Jonathan Taylor before my drafts really badly. I'm going to be back on the clock here. And I might go James Cook here again. I took him in the last draft too. Yeah, we're gonna go James Cook here as a 3 straight running backs. And if you don't take a running back in the first 3 rounds, I don't hate going 3 straight because there's about to be no starting running backs left. Basically, like the next running back in ADP is AJ Dillon. James Cook, meanwhile, starting running back. We know he is a capable receiver and he's a part of one of the better offenses, better quarterbacks in the NFL. We also know Josh Allen, like Jalen Hurts, will steal some of that goal line work, but I don't hate it. I'm with you, James. I really don't love leaving the first 3 rounds without a running back. And I've done that in back-to-back mock drafts here. So I'm probably going to have to, adjust a little bit based on these mock drafts that we're doing. You're stacked otherwise. Yeah, my team is stacked. I mean, I got Cooper Kupp, Jalen Hurts, and I still kind of wish I went Debo over Metcalf. Debo went a few picks later. I maybe would have liked having Hawkins in there too. I don't love DK Metcalf in the third round. Again, I just worry about the consistency a little bit. Okay, someone asked me to talk about Christian Watson. I'm going to do that right after this next pick with me on the clock. We saw Christian Watson. He went in the 5th round right here in this draft. James Cook about to be so nice. Yeah, I like the upside for Cook. I do still worry about the red zone role for James Cook. Like, will he get enough red zone touches and goal line carries to score touchdowns and win weeks for fantasy? I'm really not sure about that for James Cook. They went out and they signed Damien Harris. They signed Latavius Murray for that goal line back role. Plus they have Josh Allen. So like I know he'll take some of those goal line carries too. So can James Cook get there? I think there's a world where, yeah, he's still their best goal line back and he can score, 5 to 10 touchdowns and get 50 receptions and go over 1,000 rushing yards. Like, I think that's within his range of outcomes, but it's definitely on the higher end of those range of outcomes. So I'm a tiny bit concerned there. All right, let me pull up Christian Watson here in some of his weeks from last year before I start talking about him in just a second and how I'm approaching him in fantasy drafts. I am about to be back on the clock here, and I need either a wide receiver or a tight end. I don't think I'm going to go with another running back. And yeah, it's between these two wide receivers. I'm pretty shocked, honestly, how this ADP. I get Jahan Dotson. I get the love for him. He's a year 2 wide receiver. I'm out on Jahan Dotson pretty easily though, and I guess I don't want to go Gabe Davis when I already have James Cook, but I probably would take Gabe Davis over MT. I want MT here though in the 7th round. I do like the value of MT right now in drafts. I don't need to draft him as a starting player. Like, I already had my 2 running backs, 2 receiver slots filled out, my flex slots filled out. My first bench player is Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is getting drafted as though he's already injured. Meanwhile, he's the healthiest he's been this time of year in the last 3 years. Okay, let me pull back up these these Christian Watson game logs here. I'll show them to the TikTok live as well. Again, this is from the WalterPicks app, our new game logs. This is 100% free. Everybody using the WalterPicks app this year, which is free to download in the iOS and Android app store, gets this advanced game log view for free. Just tap on a player's photo in the draft tool and it'll pull it up. Let's look at some of these game logs. So we that stretch for Christian Watson is what everyone clamoring for him in the 5th round of drafts. Meanwhile, you see he went under 10 points in almost every other game last year. These are the only games though that he really saw significant snaps. Like he had this one game he played 97% of the snaps. He only 9 points. That's not nothing. He did see still. He had 4 catches, six targets at a 21% target share. I do like looking at the target share numbers here too. He was going over 20%, 19% target share. That's pretty solid. My worry for him is, can he be a trusted weekly starter for your fantasy teams on what I think is going to be a pretty run-heavy team? I think Christian Watson leads the Packers in receiving yards. I think he leads them in receiving touchdowns. I think Romeo Doubs has a decent chance to lead the team in receptions, though. I'm not so confident Christian Watson will lead the team in receptions. Doubs is going undrafted or really late in drafts in drafts right now. Meanwhile, Christian Watson's going in the 5th round. I definitely get the ceiling case for Christian Watson, but you look at the guys he's going around. Like, Christian Watson went before Terry McLaurin in this draft, and I absolutely disagree with that one. McLaurin, I think his floor is just so much higher, and I would argue that his ceiling isn't that far off. Let's compare these two guys in the WalterPicks app, and yeah, Walter has McLaurin pretty easily ahead of him. Wow, the ADP is 3 behind for McLaurin versus Christian Watson. He's got a better floor. I guess Watson has a higher ceiling. That does make some sense to me too, if he can really become this alpha elite wide receiver at the NFL level. And like he does, he should lead this team in receiving. But yeah, McLaurin's absolutely the safer bet. Just look at some of the stats from last year. He beat him in almost every receiving stat. I guess the ceiling makes sense here too for Watson, is he does have a higher touchdown ceiling. This is not the 32-man draft. No, the 32-man draft is much closer to the NFL season. That'll be on August 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Going to post a video about that soon to let people know. This is a 14-team league here, just a mock draft as I'm preparing for my own personal drafts. Are you high on McLaurin? Yeah, I am pretty high on McLaurin. I think he's going a little bit too late. Now, I like him more than DeAndre Hopkins. I like him more than Christian Watson. I think there's a case for him over DJ Moore as well. I like DJ Moore, and I've taken some Fields DJ Moore stacks, but I am worried just about the passing volume for the Bears. Like, even if DJ Moore is this alpha wide receiver for the Bears, like, he could get a 28% target share. That'd be top 10 in the NFL for sure, maybe top 5. But if they're only throwing the ball 20 times a game, it's just not going to mean as much. And that's my biggest concern, definitely for DJ Moore. Someone's asking me to compare Watson and Ayuk. I will do that in just a second here. I got the 4th pick in the draft. Who should I target there? Yeah, so we're in a mock draft here right now. You can see who the top 4 picks were. I think these 4 are decent to target, as well as Cooper Kupp, depending on how you feel about the injury risk with Cooper Kupp. I'm not that concerned about the injury risk for Cooper Kupp, but he is injured right now and not practicing, and he's coming off an injury as well. So how you feel about that, that's up to you. I'm not too worried about it. I would take Cooper Kupp 4th overall over Austin Eckler, but otherwise you're looking at Jefferson, McCaffrey, or Chase. All right, I'm back on the clock here. I still need a tight end. And I feel like I'm just going to end up going Dolch again with where his ADP is shaking out. And yeah, we're going to go Elijah Moore here. I'm pretty surprised, honestly, to see him this late in comparison to some of the other guys. I think that's a great value for Elijah Moore. I haven't taken him in a ton of best ball leagues because he's going so early, but he's better for sure than Adam Thielen. I think I'd prefer him over Traylon Burks. I think I would prefer him over Juju. I'd prefer him over Kadarius Toney. I might even prefer him over Quentin Johnson, who I don't hate either. I like the value here where I just got Elijah Moore. And that can also give me some time to ease in Michael Thomas. Okay. Sam, who's the one guy you're targeting every draft? I'm all in on Ridley this year. Yeah, Brad, it actually is Calvin Ridley. If Ridley's available in the 3rd round and I'm on the clock, he's on my team. That's basically like automatic for me right now. Another guy that I'm pretty bullish on overall. I think I actually took him in both these drafts, these mock drafts that we just did. I do like James Cook ceiling kind of late in drafts. I think he's by far the best running back that the Bills have. I'm definitely worried, though, just in general about his red zone role, and I think that's part of the reason he's going so late. All right, we're about to be back here on the clock, and I think I will be going Dolch again here. I like him more than all of these tight ends that are ahead of him in ADP. And again, am I the last? I'm not the last to take a tight end yet, but this is a 14-team league, so I'm going to reach and take a tight end here momentarily. But yeah, I really do. I want Ridley. I think Ridley has top 5 wide receiver ceiling, like well within his range of outcomes. We've already seen it. I think this is the best quarterback that he's played with in his career. So I'm pretty in on Calvin Ridley. Okay, and we're going to take Dolch here as our tight end 1. Again, if you're gonna wait on tight ends, just wait and take Dolch. He's had one of the better rookie tight end seasons we've ever seen. He has a much better coach, much better offensive situation this year. So I like Dolch a lot late. He in his first 3 NFL games, Greg Dulcich went over 10 fantasy points in all 3. You almost never see that, almost never from a rookie tight end. Definitely an encouraging sign for him in year 2. Not going to be doing another mock draft after this. Actually have to run in just about 8 minutes here, so I'm not even sure I'll be able to wrap up the very end of this draft. But I will be. Hey, what's up, Sleeper HQ in the chat? Of course, we are doing our mock drafts on the best mock draft and real draft platform, which is Sleeper. Love to see you guys in the comments. Hope all is well. But yeah, I do really like I'm going to be posting a video right after this live stream of my favorite stacks, my 3 favorite high upside stacks this year. And Zay Joystick Flowers. I keep saying Zay Jones. I actually said Zay Jones in the video. You'll see I had to asterisk that out. But yeah, Zay Joystick Flowers stacked with Lamar. I really like that stack. And it's not that hard of a stack to get if you're getting Lamar in the 3rd or 4th round. Zay Flowers is going. He went in the round 7. He went round 7 in this draft. Definitely, he's gettable at a reasonable price. I like the Ridley Trevor Lawrence stack a ton. I already talked a lot about Ridley on this live, but I'm taking him pretty much auto-picked in the 3rd round for me. And even in the back end of the 2nd round, I'll be considering him. And then I also really like the Justin Herbert, Mike Williams stack. Another one that you definitely can get at a reasonable price. Mike Williams supposedly going to be moving around the formation a lot more this year, which I think is going to help his consistency on a week-to-week basis for fantasy. And I think just that whole offense is going to benefit from a new OC in Kellen Moore. What about Okonkwo? He's far better than Dulcich. Yeah, so let me compare these two in the WalterPicks app quick. Again, this app is the WalterPicks app, free to install and try out on the iOS and Android app stores. Most of the functionality you're seeing here is completely free. There's just a few premium aspects of the app that you can also try out for free with a 7-day free trial. Okay, let's do these two compared. And yeah, it is Dolch just by a little bit. Ceiling is a little bit higher for Dolch. I honestly would argue the floor is probably a little bit higher for Dolch. The biggest thing with Chig is he going to have an every down role? He didn't get that every down role last year. He wasn't even close. But on the games that he actually was running enough routes, he dominated. And I think the upside for Okonkwo is pretty high. He's a really, really talented, size-adjusted athlete. He flashed at times when given the opportunity last year. But he's on an offense now that has DeAndre Hopkins, has Traylon Burks, Derrick Henry, obviously. People are projecting the Titans' offensive line to be dead last in the NFL. That has me concerned about the entire offense overall as well. I do like Dolch. I think Dolch is safer for sure than Okonkwo, but I don't hate Okonkwo. I do think there's a reasonable floor ceiling there as well. All right, we're back on the clock. The running backs here are just complete toast, absolute toast. I don't want a single one of these running backs that are left. I think I do. I'll probably go right. Yeah, I'll go Romeo Doubs. And I mean, I'm gonna have to take some running backs because 5 wide receivers now, 3 running backs. I'll probably would end this draft running back here. Show the first 3 picks. Yep, here's the first 3 picks of the draft and how they started. If you're watching live on TikTok, had to go with one of the WalterPicks apps. 10 transactions. Tank Bigsby. Yeah, we're gonna be adding those transactions in soon. But I do like the Bigsby. I do like the Bigsby pick late in drafts. I think his ceiling is really high. One of my favorite handcuffs to be drafting right now in fantasy football. He's an injury away from winning leagues. Plus, I think he will have standalone value in PPR formats, especially with a goal line role and or a third down role. He might have both those roles. That's why I'm concerned a little bit about Travis Etienne in the 3rd round, because I think Tank Bigsby, he will mix in on some pretty valuable touches and take those away from Etienne. I took Mac Jones over 17.5 passing touchdowns. I like that. Who the hell is Chase Higgins? I don't know. I don't know who that is. I don't think that's a player. You mean T Higgins? I mean Chase Higgins. Are you talking about Chase and then Higgins? Like, who drafted both? I understand your question now. Yeah, that's a pretty ballsy move to go Chase and Higgins on the same team. I don't hate it. I would probably try to get that Joe Burrow stack though if you're gonna go all in on the Bengals. It definitely is like a high floor and like moderate ceiling play. Just having 2 receivers on the same team on your fantasy team, it locks in a higher floor because the odds one of them scores the touchdown is higher than just one of them on their own, like if they're together. But it also lowers the ceiling of both of them having monster weeks at the same time. So I think the 2 wide receivers on the same team, if you're going to do it, you want to do it with an offense like the Bengals, but it does limit your weekly ceiling just a little bit and raise your weekly floor, I think, a little bit as well. To join the drafts in the future, guys, come to the YouTube Live. Link to the YouTube Live is right in the TikTok bio. In the YouTube Live description, you'll also see a link to our Discord where you can be notified first about any mock drafts in the future in the mock draft channel within Discord. And I'm on the clock here. I got 10 seconds. I got to go with the running back, and I think I'm going to go with Tyjae Spears. I don't hate him as a handcuff back. I think he's probably going to be the receiving back on the Titans, and he really has impressed from day one with the Tennessee Titans. And I'm not so sure that the Titans are going to be able to be this like rush first attack that we've seen be their whole identity on offense for the past 2 years, because their offensive line is going to be terrible. And I don't think that they're going to be leading in as many games this year. So that might be more Spears than we expect. Spears is a rookie running back for the Tennessee Titans and supposed to be the backup to Derrick Henry this season. Don't hate him as a flyer late in rounds. Maybe we should add him to the 10 transactions as well, Samps. Can you compare Ayuk and Watson? Yeah, let's do this right before I hop off. Again, guys, you can do unlimited comparisons for free in the WalterPicks app, 100% free. And if you're a new user in the app, you can also start a 7-day free trial for the premium subscription, which will give you even more features that are going to help you dominate in your fantasy draft and all season long. So we're going to compare Ayuk here, and we're going to compare him with Watson, Christian Watson, and let's see how these 2 guys shake out here. And just a slight edge to Ayuka, the bazooka. The ceiling, again, is a little bit higher for Watson. Again, the ceiling is really high. Like Watson could be just by far the best receiver the Packers have. He could dominate them in target share. He could lead the team in receptions, targets, yards, touchdowns, all of the latter. Almost all of the games that Watson played significant snap percentage, he went absolutely off. But he didn't have that many of those games. He's now playing with a different quarterback. I think the team will be pretty run heavy. And Ayuk is coming off a breakout season where he averaged 13.4 fantasy points per game, 60 yards a game. He could build on that as well with Brock Purdy playing the whole season. I kind of agree taking Ayuk over Watson. I would agree that the floor is better for Ayuk than Watson. And I think I would agree too that the ceiling's higher for Christian Watson, but is it enough higher to justify taking Watson over Ayuk? I don't think so. That's all obviously for all of you to decide in your own drafts too. I think the ceiling, it's astronomical for Watson, but yeah, I'm a little nervous about the floor too on a potentially run first team. So those are my thoughts on this comparison. Again, this is from the WalterPicks app. You can find the link to this app in my TikTok bio and in the YouTube description. All right, who's the best team in this mock? Let's decide that before I have to hop off here. Let's just look team by team here. at the running back situations first. I really like that Eckler, JT, Brees Hall team. I don't love George Pickens though. I do like that running back situation. You can see this team, Eckler, JT, Brees Hall, just feels unfair. We'll see what the JT situation shakes out. I'm not drafting him at all right now. I do like this McCaffrey team a lot. You got McCaffrey and Gibbs. You got Gibbs at the end of the second, which isn't horrible in a 14-team league. Love where you got Ridley. I'm in on DJ Moore. I think I might like Judy just a little bit more than him, but I like that you got one of the top 7 tight ends in Dallas Goedert. And then you waited on QB. You got Watson and Kirk, which is going to be just fine for you on a week-to-week basis. I like these late-round wide receivers you snagged here as well. So I think maybe the second team, honestly, might be the best. I don't hate this Justin Jefferson team at the 1 slot either. I didn't love the Watson and Addison picks that much, though. I do kind of like the Nick Chubb team here at the end. They're an auto draft now, but not a horrible team here for this Nick Chubb squad. They got Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, as well as Joe Burrow later. I don't love the Kadarius Toney Juju picks, though. I'm pretty surprised to be seeing Juju go before Elijah Moore. That is a little bit surprising to me. I guess Juju's picking up some steam, though, as the top receiver for the Pats. All right, guys, what is the WalterPicks tool at? Where is it at? So it's on the iOS and Android App Store. And, bro, I'm in a 14-team league. What pick is best? I think you want a top 5 pick or a bottom 5 pick. I don't think you want to be right in the middle. That's my general thoughts. But I'm still doing my mock drafts to have a solid statement about which pick I really want. So far, though, I really like the top 5. And yeah, the WalterPicks app's free to install in the iOS and Android App Store. It's also, you can find a link to it in the TikTok bio and in the YouTube description. Guys, that is my time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Time is the most valuable thing we have. So thank you for spending some time with me today. I will be back live probably at some point tomorrow. I'm going to be getting close to these daily lives and daily bids. I'm about to post a video about my top 3 favorite stacks in fantasy. So look out for that on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in. Good luck, everybody. I will be back very soon.